There we go. All right, we always got to do our we got to do our starting mic check here. Folks, give me a thumbs up if you hear me. I know on stream they're hearing me, but I want to make sure that in Discord y'all are hearing me. I got to manage two things everywhere. So all y'all joining us in Discord right now, thumbs up. Thumbs up if you hear me. Uh-oh, somebody's message got deleted. Oh, there we go. Robert's got us. Good stuff. There we go. All right, cool. And I'm just going to double check, make sure we're live everywhere else. I think we are. Boom. Boom. Yep. Okay. We are live there. Pretty sure chat is live as well. So good stuff. We are live all around. Let me close out all the other background stuff here. So now we can get to our community updates for the week. So as always, if you want to be involved, directly involved, especially if you've got something to share with us that I can bring you up on the stage for, then join us in our Discord. So you can find that in our link tree or on our website, but you can come to join our Discord, jump on stage, and be a listener. And if there's something interesting and we want to bring you up, then we'll bring you up on stage with us. We did that a couple times with William historically from Wolf Crypto. So, all right. So this week, let's get into it. It's been a busy last week. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on in the space. We just got back from Solana Breakpoint. So lots of good momentum. I think one of the best things about Solana Breakpoint was that we validated a few things. The first thing we validated is that robotics is definitely the place to be. That seems to be where all the hype is around robotics, and in particular AI-driven robotics for next year. So we're going to see a lot more of that. There was even like a robotics fight event there. I think that was that BitRobot that put that together. So lots of stuff still in robotics. So we're in the right place for that for sure. Also, the AI side of it, I think there's some evolution in how AI could be using Tashi. I talked a little bit about it. Actually, no, I didn't talk about it last week because it happened last week in the evening. I talked maybe about going to it, but we had the Nanda event, which I'll talk a little bit about. And so lots of things evolving around our use cases and our partners. Obviously in the robotics, multi-robotic swarms or even like the autonomous swarms, you can think of it from that perspective. How do we get robots that cross trust boundaries to coordinate together and solve autonomous problems? And a lot of that does require AI. So that's kind of the theme that's been coming up. Another thing that got validated last week was almost all the investors and all of the participants at the events all agreed that pushing back our TGE was the right answer, that launching in this environment would have been a bad idea. So it's good to, when you're kind of getting those market signals and you make your adjustments and then you get signals that your adjustments were correct, it always feels good and validating. So that's a good place to be. So real quick, today's actually gonna be a little bit shorter because I've got another commitment coming up on the half hour actually. So I'm gonna have to end this at that time. But I do have a few things I want to go through. The first one is the Nanda event from last week. That was on Tuesday night in San Francisco, my time. So it's Tuesday morning right now, my time. And it was Tuesday night last week. So after our community update, that evening I went to the Nanda event. Nanda is all about, you can think of it as decentralized AI. How do we create the agentic web is really what it's focused on, which includes everything from the vision of you having AI in your house and being able to expose that AI to the world in a safe and privacy preserving way, to how do we align incentives across co-learning of AI models and AI fine-tuning. So is a really meaningful event. So the great thing is, and I think this is probably the point I want to bring up, because I did mention this in the, I think it was the DABA space last week. I was a little cranky, a little tired, and a little hungry, and I just kind of said it as I felt. But in the DABA space last week, I talked about it. It was a bit of a spicy take. Um, but what we're seeing is that in the AI space, and this is outside of Web3, this is MIT, Harvard, Berkeley, Stanford, a bunch of universities, plus a bunch of major companies. IBM's part of that, Red Hat, technically Red Hat's part of IBM. All of these different big companies, Microsoft, are looking at how we can make this agentic web, agentic AI a real thing, or sorry, agentic web a real thing. So it has to do with AI agents specifically. And the model that they're coming to, the model that they're kind of settling on is DePIN. We're already here. So a lot of the conversations I was having were conversations like, how do we align incentives? What do token models look like that are healthy and efficient and rewarding appropriately for people to run their AI agents? How do we synchronize and coordinate data sets for co-learning? So a lot of these conversations I'm having are like, okay, from the DePIN perspective, we're already there. We're already building all of the primitives that are necessary for that agentic web to exist. And they're on the other side, non-Web3 space, now coming to the realization that in order for us to scale agentic web the way that it's envisioned, really requires basically a DePIN. And then one of my other spicy takes from last week was that DePIN was going to eat blockchain in general, L1, L2, that most of the workloads are going to be pushed to DePIN, and L1 and L2 are going to be relegated to public settlement and public signaling. So that was one of my cranky, spicy takes from last week. But that was an event that I went to, the Nanda event, made lots of connections. We went after the event, we went out for drinks and had lots of additional discussions with actually people in the field who are doing this work on the enterprise level and at the academic level. And there just is this agreement of this need for how do we align incentives? How do we do discovery and negotiation and coordination of these AI workloads? And some of the discussions I had sound really promising around Tashi, specifically around our ability to effectively build a message queue for coordinating these types of workloads. So I'm not going to get into too much detail about who I talked and where those are going, but I now have a bunch of calendar items out there for me to connect with people and do some follow-up calls on that type of stuff. So that's something that's definitely coming about. We got the Nanda event which was last week. We had Breakpoint, which was exciting from last week. Again, I don't have a lot of time today, but what I do want to do is something that's been coming up a lot, and actually because of your tickets that you've submitted as a community, I discovered misconfiguration in the installer script. So thank you very much for helping me through that. But I figured it might be useful for us to kind of go through this process of the installer script. I recognize that the Discord folks are seeing some chat on the side that's backwards, but Discord folks, I am going to share some screens directly so you guys will see the actual screen. So you can ignore my video. But for the rest of you that are watching on X or anywhere else that we're broadcasting, or recording after the fact, you're going to see my screen. So I'm going to be managing two streams. So stick with me here as I transition to the next set of screens and share in two places. All right, so let me go ahead and share this for you guys. Boom. Okay, now you all in Discord are seeing the same thing that people on stream are seeing. Is it backwards for you guys? Because it's backwards for me. Oh, I see. Oh, never mind. Let me share a different screen. Sorry, guys. Sharing the wrong screen with you guys. Here we go. We're going to share that one. Oh, there we go. Okay, I had two screens basically showing the same thing. I had the stream and the screen I wanted to share. So real quickly, I'm just going to walk through standing up a node in CLI. And if anybody has questions, feel free to bring them up. Let me also open up the chat here, and we're going to move the chat up here a little bit so that people can see the chat. There we go. Sorry, I'm managing two things right now. We got Discord and the stream. Okay, so I'm going to actually walk through this process and show you where I found the bug. We got a lot of reports about it, so I decided to go through and run through the process myself a couple times. Found the bug. It's getting fixed right now, but I definitely wanted to show you guys what is going on. So if I come over here to our dashboard here, you can see in the node status, so after you've logged in with your wallet, right? So I've got my wallet that I've logged in here. I'm using Phantom. You can use whatever you want to log into the Tashi dashboard. Again, this is dpin.tashi.network. And if you go there, it'll ask you to connect your wallet. Once your wallet is connected, it'll tell you to grab some Tashi. I've got 100 Tashi because I started this before the new version, so I think you all are getting 1,000 Tashi now. But this is my old wallet that I set up in the first place. If you come down here to node status, I think before it just says setting up a node or something like that. But you've got the one-click option, which is deploy a node with EaseFlow. We've got a few other one-click options. We've partnered with Deep and with Nodes Garden, and so you can deploy in both of those places. But I want to talk specifically about the CLI installer because I think a lot of people are running into the same problem I was having, and maybe you're kind of getting stuck. There is a way to resolve it with the current flow of the installer, but we're going to fix it. And as a matter of fact, it's in deployment now. So it might actually get deployed before I finish this demo. So, okay, so I'm going to actually copy this command right here. This is the bin bash command for the installer. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Now, let me change my screen. This is going to be in the stream. It's really easy. In Discord, it takes me just a second. Boom. Okay. There. Now you guys see my my CLI, my terminal. All right, let's find out if this is fixed or not, okay? So I just ran Docker PS. Docker PS just lets me know if anything is actually running. Right now I've got nothing in Docker running. So if I paste in that command that I just copied from the command center and I just go and run it, it's going to tell me a whole bunch of stuff. It's going to ask me a bunch of questions. I'm going to go ahead and enable automatic updates. Yep. I'm ready to install the node itself. Yep. Okay, so now it's going to go through. Oh yeah, we got to do the token part. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I am going to control click on it. By the way, I am on Windows, but I'm running WSL. So WSL basically is running Linux in Windows. All I did is I installed WSL. I installed Docker with apt, which is the package installer. And that's it. That's all I've done to set this up. So, okay, so I'm going to click this and it's going to take me back to my browser. So if we come back to browser, and I'm just going to quickly show this. I'm going to sign with Solana, sign with Phantom, initiate bonding. So now it's going to pop up my Phantom wallet. Let me see if this pops open at all. Okay, good. Whew. Wanted to know if my password manager was going to pop up or not. All right, so I am actually, you can't see it on screen, but I am off screen doing the signing process with Phantom. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to copy this license. And now let me switch my sharing back over to my terminal. I'm going to do the same over on Discord. Again, sorry, this takes double the time because we got to bounce back and forth. There we go. So now if I come back to my terminal and I'm going to paste that token in, right? So that's the token that I just copied from the bonding. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now here's where the bug came up before. It's doing a NAT check from the orchestrator. It's basically saying, can it get access to my node? It's saying that it can't directly access my node. I'm going to say no. We'll see if this is fixed. Nope. Okay. So this is the bug, right? This is it right here. Is whether you answer yes or no, it will do the NAT check over and again. So if I do it again, see, it's trying to do it over and over again, and it's going to fail over and over again. Some of you might have been experiencing this, and you might be going, well, dang it, I got to go open up port 39065, right? Which is a way to do it, right? So if you have a public IP address, outside of your home and you go and you open up port 39065 and then forward that to the device that you're hosting on, this NAT check will succeed and it will successfully install. If you don't want to open that port, and this is the part that's getting fixed right now, by the way. Right now, you're stuck in this loop. Whether I hit yes, it's going to try to do the NAT check, and it's going to fail again. Or I hit no, it's going to keep going through this loop, right? So it keeps doing the NAT check. The way to exit here is I press Control C. It's going to exit from it. Watch this. I'm just going to run the install script again. Enable automatic updates, ready to install worker. And then it just works. So yes, I get it. It got stuck in that loop before. Now my node is running. I can do a Docker PS now. You can see that it is actually running on my network. And if we go back to the dashboard, boom, boom. Let me stop sharing here and reshare. There we go. If we go back to the dashboard, you'll see if I hit refresh here, it's showing my one node running, right? And actually you can see I've run a few of these nodes today. So the active one, you can see that the other ones were up for just very short periods of time. The active one is now up and running. But I created new nodes. So I deleted the old authorization. And when I started it, it created a new node. So, so I've run 3 nodes today. You can see that they were connected and disconnected over the last hour or so. So that's the entire process right there. And I apologize for those of you that have been struggling with getting the CLI running. That is a bug. It's in the process of getting pushed right now. It's already been fixed. It's been locally tested. We're pushing it live right now. So as soon as it gets live, we'll put out a notification, let everybody know that that's live. In the meantime, if you want to still get your node running through the CLI and you're running into that problem, just do what I did. Just cancel out of the install script and rerun it. And then it starts up. So this is it running. It works. We're also getting a lot of questions about like how much am I getting for my node. You can see that you get 10 XP per day that your node is up and running. You get 200 XP when you start a node. So you can see I started 3 nodes today. I did not get an extra 200 X. Oh, sorry, that's the grow the network. Run the node. I got my 500 XP in the first place. Sorry, that's the one that we got. So I ran 3 nodes just today. I didn't get any more XP for just running the node and then shutting it down and running it again. So you can't really game that part of it. What we're more interested in is are you keeping it running and are you growing the network? So anyway, hopefully that was helpful. That was something that kind of caught me off guard when I was going through the trouble tickets with people in the community, with our support team. They escalated it to the engineering team, and so I got involved, and then I jumped in and started playing with it myself and realized, why am I getting stuck in this loop? But it is fixed. So now why don't we go ahead and hop over to questions, because we've got about 12 minutes before I have to jump off. But I want to make sure we have time to answer any questions that people have. So let's go ahead and hop over into Discord where people are asking questions. And if you're on X and you have any questions that you want to toss our way, feel free to do that. We will field those as they pop up. Okay, first question that we have in Discord is, do the specs matter when running a node, and does bare metal versus VPS matter as well? Great question. We've run these nodes on Raspberry Pis. To give you an idea of the scope of what we're doing on these nodes, the first set of services that we're running is a telemetry service. So you're effectively registering your device and then running a service that sits in the background and says, hey, orchestrator, I'm still here. Hey, peer in the network, I'm still here. Let me do a quick ping test with you and see what our latency is between each other. So the idea with the telemetry service is that we're building a map, basically an overlay map of the internet. We're saying every node that's on here on the network, we're identifying what the latency is between all of the nodes and the orchestrators so that we can effectively assign nodes or assign jobs to specific groups of nodes to solve a specific problem. That's two very, very lean services, like very tiny services. There isn't a lot of compute with that. So you can run that on a Raspberry Pi. It's actually very, very low requirements. Um, we do have specs on the website. As a matter of fact, if we go into the documentation, I was looking here at the uninstall script here earlier, but if we look at the node specifications, um, we won't look at orchestrator nodes only because right now those are being run by us and trusted partners. But if we look at the resource nodes themselves, what we're really asking for is 2 threads. 4 threads is better, but 2 threads, that's going to be your phone or a Raspberry Pi. Memory, 2 gigs required. Technically, you might run into some issues with memory if you don't have 2 gigs, but it technically should still run. We just know that we've tested it and we feel confident that 2 gigs is required. 4 plus gigs would be recommended. And then 20 gigs of free space. That's just a standard VM requirement. It's not hard requirement, but especially if we start storing config files over time, that space is going to grow. Right now, I suspect we're probably closer to a few megabytes of storage. But if we do any type of persistence functionality, you're going to need significantly more. So the requirements are very low. To your point, the requirements are very, very low. Let me make sure that, yeah, okay, cool. Great question though. But yeah, so the requirements are very low. You can run on a Raspberry Pi. You can run it as a VPS anywhere you want. Right now, I'm running it on Windows, but it's on WSL. But if you have a VPS somewhere and you would rather run it there, and maybe you have a VPS that's already running other things, and you're like, hey, I want to run a Tashi node on this VPS that's already running other things, but I want to use the VPS because it has a public IP address and I'm already paying for it for other things. Absolutely could run in the background and not impact anything else that's going on that device. So great question. Any other questions that we have? Because I want to be sensitive to time here, but I also want to make sure you guys get the most bang for your buck in this community update. Just as a recap, we had Breakpoint last week. Lots of good signals we got from the market and from participants and some of the thought leadership at Breakpoint about the robotics space and the timing on TGE. NANDA event last week. Looks like there's a really strong fit, and we're working with the legitimate players in the AI, specifically the agentic web space. But there's a really good fit for Tashi there. And then the third thing we talked about today is installing the CLI node and the little bug that's getting corrected right now. So we got one question, looks like it's coming in. Does mesh network scale better than a layer 1? Wondering because of your claim that DePIN will take over. Yeah, this one's near and dear to me. So happy to address this. Why would a mesh net scale better than an L1? I think the core answer to that is really an architecture answer. So last week or 2 weeks ago, we did the diagrams about how Tashi's network is broken into the 3 layers, how we have the vertex layer, the lattice layer, and the arc layer, right? At the vertex layer, these are individual jobs that are being run, and the stakeholders in that job are the ones who are working, who have provided the devices or the services to run that work. So an example of that might be, I'm just going to throw gaming out there, or search and rescue robots. But let's start with gaming, because gaming is, I think, a little bit easier to understand why this works well. If you want to play a game with me and 3 other friends, and we're going to play Minecraft, for example, one way to do that is for somebody to set up a Minecraft server and all of us talk to that server. Another way to make that work is one person becomes the server and everybody connects to that one person as a server. The Tashi way to do this and the Vertex way to do this is that everybody's running a server and our servers are synchronizing with each other behind the scenes using Vertex. Vertex is an edge consensus protocol, meaning you don't need an L1. You don't even need orchestrators. If you can figure out how to connect these devices together, you don't need anything, right? So you just need the players' computers to be connected to each other. And you're not setting up a separate server. You're not running a separate application. Vertex can be baked into the game itself. So if we're playing Minecraft, it would be a Minecraft plugin or a mod pack I guess it would be a plugin, not a mod extension or a plugin. Mod pack would be different, but it's an extension or a plugin in Minecraft that legitimately handles the network layer stuff for the game and allows us to all connect to each other. And then once we're connected, we can synchronize the game state with each other directly. There are no L1s, no separate servers, no separate applications running. It's just our games synchronizing with each other. And it works in a gasless format because we all want to play the game. So we're all interested in the game working. So that's why Vertex works. Vertex works at the very edge. You don't need L1s. You don't need centralized servers. You don't need separate devices. You don't need separate servers per player. You just need the game running with Vertex installed as a plugin into the game. Okay, so that's the first thing. Imagine what that does for what we call on-chain gaming, right? We're using a consensus protocol to synchronize everybody. The point of on-chain gaming initially, so like the first point of on-chain gaming is that anybody can build on, anybody can play the game, and the state is controlled by the protocol. That way, no one player has an advantage, no one player is controlling the game, and no server is the authoritative server. So this is one of the value propositions of on-chain gaming. Another value proposition of on-chain gaming is asset loading and asset visibility and asset settlement. That's why we built the Arc layer, right? So Arc is a bunch of plugins that allow you to connect this game with a smart contract on any network. And the idea there is you would lock up the asset into the smart contract on whatever network you're using. And then you would create a virtual ledger between all the players in the game. Because keep in mind, they're already synchronizing the game state. You can also build a virtual ledger between the players that's part of the game state that represents, you can think of it as like a wrapped token. So it represents the assets that you locked onto the smart contract. And now those are available in the game. So think of pink slip gaming, right? So if we're all playing a game and we load our inventory into the smart contract before we start playing the game, as we're playing the game, we're all trying to shoot each other or trying to kill each other or whatever, right? And if I kill one of the players, I get one random item from their inventory. Now when I get that item, the virtual ledger in the game, in that Vertex mesh net, gets updated. And there is a multi-sign state. Because we're using a consensus protocol, we can provide a proof of that synchronization or a proof of coordination. If you read our docs, you'll see that all over the place. You'll see a proof of coordination that we've synchronized the virtual ledger and that person's asset now belongs to me. So when either the game ends or somebody rage quits or we all exit the game, I can now hand that proof back to the smart contract and say, see, I got this asset from this other person. And the reality is that we're all validating each other all the time. The way that this works is it's a virtual voting algorithm. So we're all validating each other all the time. So you can imagine where a lot of the work that was previously done at the L1 or L2 layer is now done between the participants of the problem. And that's the different paradigm that we're taking. This is why I'm saying that a lot of what L1 does and what L2 does is going to be obsoleted by this new architecture of pushing things to an edge consensus. So I say DePIN in general, but really what I'm talking about is this infrastructure play that solves real world problems at the edge that then can communicate back to the L1s and L2s for settlement and signaling. Anytime you need public settlement or signaling, you can do that. But apply this anywhere else. Apply this to robots in a factory manufactured by different manufacturers or even owned by different companies. But maybe they're supposed to coordinate with each other in a factory, or maybe search and rescue, where we just put a call out and say, we need anybody who has a search and rescue robot to show up at this site at this time. And everybody shows up the robots, and now the robots have to coordinate between each other. The reality is when you've got tens of thousands, if not millions of data points being synchronized between those robots in that problem space, nobody's going to pay fractions of a penny or even 1/100th of a penny or even 1,000th of a penny for every action that gets recorded to keep everybody in sync. But they will run a consensus protocol, a cheap consensus protocol in the background, which is effectively gasless, and synchronize between each other. And then everybody's validating each other at the same time. So it's a different way to think about how Web3 is going to operate. And so that's why I made that spicy take last week. All right. I need to cut out. I got a phone call I got to go hop on right now. Excellent questions. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We should still be doing an update next week. You guys are amazing, and I look forward to progressing this. And again, engage with us. Tell us what's working, what's not working. It is your tickets that help me find this bug in the installer script. So I appreciate you guys engaging, helping out with that so much. So, all right, everybody, have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week.